The Riva Aquarama, the wooden speedboat that became a legend, and the Lamborghini one-off. Some machines become more than transport. They stop being judged simply by speed, size or price. They become symbols of a particular world. The Riva Aquarama is one of those machines. It wasn't just a wooden speedboat. It was the image of Italian glamour set on water. Mahogany, chrome, leather, twin engines, and a level of elegance that made it look less like a boat and more like it belonged in a gallery. One Aquarama became more special than all the rest. In 1968, Ferruccio Lamborghini ordered his own Riva Aquarama, and instead of accepting the normal engines, he had it fitted with two Lamborghini V12s. Not one, two. This is the history of the Riva Aquarama and the story of the Lamborghini-powered version that became the fastest Aquarama ever built. The Riva name goes all the way back to 1842. That was when Pietro Riva began building boats at Sarnico on Lake Iseo in northern Italy. Over time, Riva became known for fine wooden boat building, but the name became truly legendary under Carlo Riva. Carlo Riva turned the family business into one of the most desirable luxury boat brands in the world. By the middle of the 20th century, Italy was becoming a global centre of design, engineering and style. This was the era of Ferrari, Maserati, Lamborghini, Vespa, Pininfarina, Bertone and La Dolce Vita. Riva fitted perfectly into that world. These boats were not built simply to cross a lake. They were built to arrive. The shape mattered, the sound mattered, the materials mattered. The way the varnished mahogany caught the sunlight mattered. And then in 1962, Riva introduced the boat that would define the brand. The Riva Aquarama was launched in 1962. The first Aquarama was reportedly test-driven by Gianni Agnelli in Monte Carlo. And that's almost the perfect beginning for this boat, because the Aquarama would become inseparable from the world of Monaco, Lake Como, Portofino, Venice and the French Riviera. The name Aquarama was inspired by Cinerama, the widescreen cinema format that was popular at the time. That makes sense because one of the Aquarama's defining features was its wide curved windscreen. It gave the driver and passenger a panoramic view across the water. This wasn't just a practical detail, it meant you were involved with your surroundings. Like Richard Hammond said about Alfa Romeos, when you're in it, you don't look at the scenery, you're part of it. The Aquarama was based on the earlier Riva Tritone hull, but it refined the idea into something more elegant, more usable and more instantly recognisable. It had twin engines, a long varnished mahogany deck, separate front seats, a central walkway over the engine cover, a rear sun pad and that unmistakable beautiful Riva shape. It was a speedboat, but it was also a statement. The Aquarama arrived at exactly the right moment when everything else in the 60s was just coming together. The cars, the fashion, and obviously the speedboats too. The 1960s created a new kind of international glamour. Film stars, industrialists, aristocrats, wealthy holidaymakers. They were moving between the great resorts of Europe, and the Riva Aquarama belonged in that world. It was fast but not brutal. It was expensive but not vulgar. It was hand-built but not too old-fashioned. The materials were central to the appeal. Polished mahogany, chrome fittings, leather upholstery, beautiful dashboards. Everything was designed to make the boat feel special before it even moved. That's why the Aquarama has often been described as the Ferrari or Rolls-Royce of the sea. But in many ways, that comparison doesn't quite do it justice. A Ferrari is usually about performance first. A Rolls-Royce is usually about silence and comfort first. The Aquarama sat somewhere between the two, bit of a compromise. It had performance, but it also had occasion. It had luxury, but it also had mechanical presence. It was elegant, but it was not delicate. It was a machine built to be seen, heard, and remembered forever. The Aquarama remained in production from 1962 until 1996. That's an extraordinary production run. Most luxury objects are fashionable for just a few years, then replaced by something newer. But the Aquarama lasted for more than 3 decades because the basic design didn't need to be reinvented. In total, Riva built 765 Aquaramas. That included the original Aquarama, the Aquarama Super, the Aquarama Lungo, and the later Aquarama Special. The engines changed over the years. Many Aquaramas used American V8 engines, including units from Cadillac and Chrysler, adapted for marine use, but the identity of the boat stayed the same: long nose, polished wood, twin engines, curved windscreen, rear sun pad, and that unmistakable Riva stance on the water. Then came the one version that broke the pattern completely: Ferruccio Lamborghini's Aquarama. In 1968, Ferruccio Lamborghini ordered a Riva Aquarama. By this point, Lamborghini was already a serious name in the supercar world. He started out building tractors, but then he created Automobile Lamborghini. And by the late 1960s, Lamborghini was producing cars that challenged Ferrari directly. Ferruccio was not an ordinary customer. He was a man with very strong opinions about machinery. He didn't simply buy something because it was expensive. He wanted things built properly, and he wanted them built his way. The boat he ordered was hull number 278. It was ordered in May 1968, and it took around 3 months to build. But Lamborghini was not satisfied with the standard Aquarama engine package. The normal Aquarama was already a prestigious and powerful boat, but for Ferruccio, that wasn't enough. He wanted Lamborghini power, and who can blame him? Certainly not I. So the boat was fitted with 2 4-litre Lamborghini V12 engines. These engines were derived from the Lamborghini 350 GT, Lamborghini's first production car. Each engine produced around 350 horsepower. So together the boat had around 700 horsepower. It wasn't a Lambo badge stuck on the side. It wasn't a marketing collaboration. It was a proper mechanical crossover between 2 fantastic Italian names. Riva built the hull, Lamborghini supplied the heart of it. The result was the Riva Aquarama Lamborghini, and it became the fastest Aquarama ever built. Its reported top speed was 48 knots. That's roughly 55 miles per hour on water. It's not a small number. 55 miles per hour in a car is normal. 55 miles per hour in a wooden speedboat is something else entirely. On water, speed feels more exposed, more physical, more dramatic. The Lamborghini engines also transformed the character of the boat. A normal Aquarama already sounded expensive. Ferruccio's Aquarama sounded like 2 Italian Grand Tourers had been lowered into the engine bay. The V12 engines had to be adapted for marine use. That meant cooling, exhaust, rotation and insulation all had to be considered differently from a car, and Riva built a custom exhaust system for the boat with open pipes. Open pipes on a boat. Because Ferruccio Lamborghini was not only chasing speed, he wanted the full experience changed. The sound, the response, the engineering identity. The Riva Aquarama Lamborghini was a personal statement. It said, I admire Riva, but I still want this machine to carry my engineering signature, and my V12's in the back. Ferruccio Lamborghini kept the boat for many years. After his death in 1993, the story became a bit more complicated. The boat eventually disappeared from public view. For years, many believed it was lost, or at least hidden away beyond easy recovery. Eventually, the boat was found, but it was no longer the perfect glamour object it had once been. It had deteriorated, and by that stage, it was not simply an old luxury toy. It was a unique historical object. There were many Riva Aquaramas. There were many Lamborghini V12 engines, but there was only one Ferruccio Lamborghini Aquarama. Restoring it properly wouldn't be simple. It would need the right people, the right knowledge, and the right respect for what the boat actually was. The restoration was carried out by Riva World in the Netherlands, and it took around 3 years. It wasn't a quick polish and revarnish. It was a serious restoration. The wood had to be repaired and refinished, the chrome had to be restored, the upholstery had to be recreated, the dashboard and the electronics had to be refurbished. The boat reportedly received 25 layers of clear coat. That gives you an idea of the level of finish involved, but the engines were the most difficult part. One of the original engines from the boat is believed to remain in the Ferruccio Lamborghini Museum in Italy, but it wasn't available for the restoration. So the team sourced 2 other Lamborghini V12 engines. They then had to convert them for marine use. They also used access to the museum engine to recreate original parts as accurately as possible. That was vital because the goal was not simply to make the boat run. The goal was to bring back Ferruccio Lamborghini's Aquarama as faithfully as possible. There was also a very important Lamborghini connection. Bob Wallace helped with the engine tuning. Bob Wallace was Lamborghini's legendary test driver and engineer, and his involvement gave the restoration real credibility. One engine was configured to rotate in one direction, the other engine rotated in the opposite direction. That's a marine setup used to balance propulsion. So this wasn't just a visual recreation. The team tried to return the boat to the way Ferruccio Lamborghini intended it. A Riva Aquarama with a mechanical soul of a Lamborghini Grand Tourer. In 2013, the restored boat returned to the water of Lake Iseo, close to Riva's spiritual home. Once again, the fastest Aquarama ever built was alive. The Lamborghini Aquarama matters because it joins 2 different forms of Italian perfection and excellence. Riva represented craftsmanship, elegance, nautical glamour. Lamborghini represented power, mechanical drama, defiance. Put those together and you don't just simply get a faster boat. You get a machine that tells you something about Ferruccio Lamborghini himself. He wasn't content with a standard answer. He didn't accept the engine package just because that's what everyone else had. He wanted the best wooden speedboat in the world, and he wanted it to carry his own signature engineering DNA. That's why this boat's so fascinating. It's not just a Riva, it's not just a Lamborghini. It's a personal commission from one of the greatest industrial characters of the 20th century. And unlike many luxury collaborations, this one had real substance. The engines were real, the performance changed, the sound changed, the identity changed. It became the Aquarama that only Ferruccio Lamborghini could have ordered. Today, the Riva Aquarama remains one of the most recognisable classic boats ever built. Even people who know nothing about boats understand the image. Polished mahogany, blue water, chrome details, a curved windscreen, a perfect wake behind the stern. It's the visual language of old world Mediterranean glamour. But the Aquarama is more than a beautiful object. It survived because it was properly designed. The layout worked, the proportions worked, the materials were beautiful, the engine gave it real performance, and the design enough confidence to remain desirable long after production ended, and even today. There are faster boats, there are bigger boats, there are more modern boats, but very few boats have the presence of a Riva Aquarama, and almost none have the story of Ferruccio Lamborghini's twin V12 example. The Riva Aquarama was already a legend before Lamborghini touched it. It was Carlo Riva's masterpiece, a wooden speedboat that captured an entire era of Italian style. But Ferruccio Lamborghini's version became something else. Hull number 278 was a one-off machine, 2 Lamborghini V12 engines, around 700 horsepower, open pipe character, and a reported top speed of 48 knots. It was the fastest Aquarama ever built. It wasn't just luxury, it wasn't just speed, it was the meeting point between Lake Iseo craftsmanship and Sant'Agata engineering. A boat built by Riva, transformed by Lamborghini, lost for years and brought back to life as one of the most remarkable pieces of Italian mechanical history. That's why the Riva Aquarama Lamborghini is not just a classic boat, it's one of the greatest one-off machines ever made. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video, bye bye.